Did you know that many Native American nations had stories about little people, what Europeans would describe as fairies or trolls? Many of these stories involved real-life encounters with entire communities of these little beings. Welcome to Native American history, decolonized version. Let's get into it. When explorers started moving west and contacting tribes previously uncontacted, they ran into a lot of stories of little people. In fact, Lewis and Clark in 1805, August 25th, journaled that the Lakota people showed them a mountain of little people or little spirits, which they believed was a little abode for little quote-unquote devils in human forms, as they wrote. It's near Whitestone River. You could actually go see it today. And the Lakota called them Chanotila. Throughout the Western Hemisphere, many Native American nations had words for these little beings, often described similarly, sometimes vastly different. In fact, the Seneca called them Dejongohe. The Ojibwe and Cree called them Memiguiswak. Please forgive my pronunciation of these indigenous languages. Seminole and Muscogee called them Fisti Ifpuki, and Mimak called them Wigi Ludumuch. The Cherokee had 4 different names because they witnessed 4 different kinds of little people. Other nations such as the Potawatomi, Sac, Fox, Kickapoo, Menominee, Winnebago, Lenape, Delawares, and Shawnee, as well as the Ponca, Tiwa, Chickasaw, Creek, and Coeur d'Alene actually had stories of little people. Even all the way to California, present-day California, coastal groups actually had stories of little people themselves. Even all the way up to Alaska, where the Inuit are, they actually have stories themselves. In dealings with these little people, the Lakota people had Wachasha Wakan, which is what you call medicine people or medicine men, and they formed different Wakan Wachipi, which is basically holy dance societies, and they would often be the ones that deal with little people. Often we were looked at as being they were looked at as being sacred, and we didn't really have to deal with them that much because we were often told that to basically leave them alone. One thing is for sure, colonists who met natives often used their Christianity to deem these stories and relationships that native had with these little beings as quote-unquote satanic or quote-unquote devilish, and often portrayed little beings as evil, while many native nations deemed them as sacred beings which should be left alone. Have you heard of stories of little people? If you're indigenous, do you have a word that describes little people? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for tuning in.